Welcome back to this week's episode of the Rock Solid Sports Podcast. Today is Saturday, March 15th, and NFL free agency has been a doozy so far.
Yeah, no, it's always interesting when this time of year comes around, see who's going to make some adjustments and see who's actually trying to make a push for this upcoming year. There's a couple teams that did, a couple teams that kind of went in the middle, and then there's always going to be teams that go out there and do absolutely nothing.
Just like MLB free agency. Same deal. We'll talk about all drops, re-signings, extensions, all that. So, yeah, let's get into it.
We gonna make it, baby.
Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid sports.
Welcome back to this week's episode. We are brought to you by Slove. Go check them out. They just had a new drop. Make sure to go get yours soon. I think pre-orders are ending. Actually, I don't know how they're doing that. But, yeah, I think they're doing pre-orders, so go get it in so you can get it as soon as possible. Go check them out on slove.co on Instagram at sluv.co or on their website at sluv.us. That is sluv.us. All right. We are going to talk NFL free agency today. We're just going to go in order from division. We're going to start in the AFC East. But, yeah, we're going to talk all extensions, anything notable, anything like we're going to start with the Bills. So, like, Damar Hamlin signing a 1-year, 2-year deal. We don't really care. So we're going to move on with that.
You get a forever contract when you die on the field, I feel like.
Yeah, we found that out. But, yeah, we're just going to go by team. We're starting the AFC East. First, I guess, big news with the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen gets a huge extension, $330 million in 6 years with $250 million guaranteed. I think that's a huge kind of thing that needs to start happening is people need to start locking up their quarterbacks early, especially when we saw, I think, the salary cap rose like $20 million.
Yep.
So, like, the quarterback contracts in the future are going to be higher. So why not retain your guy now?
Yeah, no, I agree. When you got a guy like Josh Allen, you have to get him for as long as you can. He'll retire a Bill. I truly believe that, unless some weird thing at the end of his career where he goes somewhere. But yeah, no, I agree. I think there's always going to be that one team who kind of starts it. And like for running backs last year, it was the Eagles. They were like, we're going to start this. And like, if you want to get your guy, get him now because they're about to start asking for more money because they see what that ceiling can be. But yeah, I think every team kind of needs to fold into that logic. And then there just needs to be that one team that, like, before everyone else, they say, we're going to set this market for what we want. And that can kind of adjust how other teams are going to handle things and kind of speeds up the process of trying to find, like, your guy for the future.
Yeah, after retaining and extending their MVP quarterback, I mean, they got him two weapons, Josh Palmer and Khalil Shakir. Josh Palmer from the Chargers, Khalil Shakir was there, just an extension. But lock them up for 3 and 4 years. Obviously, you never know. NFL contracts are so funny. Like, you could sign a 4-year deal, but you can be cut after, like, 2 years or 1 year, and nobody really knows what happens to all the dead money. But they get Josh Palmer. They get Khalil Shakir back. They lose on the defensive side. They get rid of Von Miller, Broncos legend. Is he coming back to Denver?
I hope so. A little minimum. We talked about this.
On the minimum?
Yeah, minimum vet presence. I mean, Broncos legend.
Backup.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you need.
We'd always take him, and then he can just retire here in a year or two whenever he's done.
And everybody is happy.
Exactly.
But they lose Von Miller, but they get Joey Bosa.
That's huge.
Signed a 1-year, $12.6 million deal with a max value of $15.6. I mean, I think Joey Bosa's in like his 9th or 10th year of his career. Has been good. Kind of fell off these last couple of years in terms of stats. But, I mean, when you got Khalil Mack on that side of the ball as well, in LA, I mean, that's what's going to happen. You're going to lose a couple of your stats.
No, yeah.
But, I mean, what a great pickup for the Bills.
No, I agree. Joey Bosa is one of those guys who's always been solid and hasn't truly gotten the recognition maybe he's deserved over the past like little bit because he's been on the Chargers, and the Chargers have been very mediocre for a while. So he's not really poked through, whereas in like his brother has been on the 49ers, been to a couple Super Bowls, and like he's a little bit better, but not like super like high level better than his brother. It's just we haven't gotten that recognition for him. And I think with the Bills, he has a chance to not only be a little bit more in the spotlight, but also go for those Super Bowls and kind of get into that realm of things.
DeMar Hamlin, 1-year deal, $2 million.
Congrats.
Yeah. We'll move on to the Miami Dolphins. First order of business, they get a backup quarterback for the those inevitable 4 games that Tua is going to miss. Broncos legend Zach Wilson.
Yep. I think that's a good pickup. I think Zach Wilson's pretty solid, to be honest with you. I think he's just kind of one of those guys who never really had time to develop under a good system with a solid OC that stuck around for a while. We saw what he did that year that Aaron Rodgers was supposed to play his first year. He played that whole year. Didn't look half bad. Be interested to see what he could do on a team like Miami and see what they can do because you're, like you said, you never know when Tua can hit the pavement and be done. I mean, this next time he could be done. Like if it happens again, I could see him kind of hanging up the jersey and being done. So you got to be ready for that situation. If there's any team that needs a really solid backup, it is Miami.
Yeah, really no other big deals for the Miami Dolphins, so we'll just move on from them. They had a couple other guys. Westbrook-Akina signed a deal there. He's like one of my least favorite players in the NFL, only because I think I had A.J. Brown 1 year on fantasy on the Titans, and he would just catch every touchdown. So every time I see his name, just can't stand him. Move on to the Patriots. Huge offseason for them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, get Mike Vrabel, and then they go out and get half of Mike Vrabel's guys. You get Matt Collins. You get Austin Hooper back. Morgan Moses, offensive tackle. Huge. Harold Landry, who was great in Tennessee. Milton Williams on the D-line. A bunch of guys. Robert Spillane. Carlton Davis, a little older, but he's a great corner. The Patriots just seem to bring in a lot of guys. One, obviously, that Vrabel's been around.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys that have had maybe a couple off years recently, but I think still might have some in the tank.
No, yeah, and I do love when teams do this is they saw what they saw from Drake May, which is, an exceptional rookie year, especially on that kind of poor of a team. And they said, perfect, we're going to throw shit at the wall, and we're going to try to surround him with as many good people as we can to get to a higher level to where we can start maybe next time this cycle comes around, we can fill those positions with even higher grade players. But, yeah, I love seeing a team actually put the effort forth to, like, surround their rookie or second-year guy with as much talent as possible to give them in the best position to succeed. I feel like too many quarterbacks come in the league in a bad situation, and that's why they don't play as well. And you just love seeing teams actually like go out and try to do something for a guy.
Yeah, I mean, and then they have the draft coming up, which I'm sure they're going to make some splashes in.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know what they're going to aim for, position-wise, but I'm pretty sure it'll probably be either O-line or some weapons for Drake May.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what's picked before them because what pick do they have? Like
It's 4, I think, yeah.
Like, yeah, if it's super quarterback heavy in the beginning, you may be looking at being able to get like an Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter, depending on what those first 2 teams do.
Yeah, that'd be huge for them. I think, they're one of those teams that were very bad last year that we can kind of, I think, their expectations will go up this year. And obviously we'll get to that once, the preview comes far, far away. Yeah. But this is just initial reactions off of, a long free agency, a long draft process. So a lot to go. But New York Jets, last team in the AFC East. Justin Fields, new quarterback. How do we feel about that? I think maybe that's a little better. I mean, he's going – back with teammate Garrett Wilson, who he was teammates with in college. You lose Aaron Rodgers, but, he wasn't really going to be a fit there. You get a guy that can run the ball. I mean, last year I think that was a lot of Aaron Rodgers' issues when the O-line just couldn't, block for him. Yeah. He just couldn't move his body. Now you have a guy that will move his body and I think kind of wants to.
Yeah, no, and I think Justin Fields realizes this, and it's what I believe. I think this is kind of like his last real shot to be like a perennial starter in the NFL. He's going to be put in the limelight of the New York media. He's going to be a big part of that team. That's a team that's been wanting to win for a while. Like they've been trying to set something up, and they may have shot themselves in the foot a little bit with trying to set up a win now season and then it kind of falling apart on them. But if Justin Fields can do what I personally think he can do, like when he was in the talks to maybe go to Atlanta, I was pretty excited about that because I think the ceiling is extremely high for him, especially in a league where quarterbacks being able to improvise and scramble and run around is so important. He's got the legs to do that, and he's still real young, and I think if he can find himself a home in New York, I think he has a really good career ahead of him. But, yeah, I think like this is his time to show that he can still do that. But if he goes there and kind of plays mediocre and doesn't do too hot, he'll probably settle into a backup role for the rest of his career. That's not something I want to see, but I think that he has an opportunity to do something really special there, and I'd love to see that happen.
Go ahead.
Didn't they start almost undefeated with them this year? Steelers.
I think they were, 3-1 or
I'd say.
4-0 to start off?
Yeah.
I mean, they had a great start to the season, which they do kind of every year, and then
Yeah.
they're almost 500 by the end of the year. Playoff team last year. I think an interesting nugget of that is Aaron Glenn. Now he was the defense coordinator over in Detroit, and now he's the head coach of the New York Jets. He got to play against Justin Fields 2 times a year for Justin Fields' first 2 years in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
If you go look at his rushing stats against the Lions those 2 years, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So maybe Aaron Glenn saw that and was like, hey, I want him on my side.
Mm-hmm.
Never know. But it looks like he might have got his guy. Do you have any opinions on Justin Fields with the Jets, Caden? Think it's a good move? Do you think it's going to work out for them?
I think it's going to be better than Aaron Rodgers. That's for sure. But I don't know. I agree with Jackson. I hope he does well out there. I think this year he showed that he can play well, but we're going to see. We're going to see how it is, especially with that Jets team.
Yeah. I think there's 2 opposite sides of free agency. When you could be called that you're having a good free agency, it's either the teams like we just mentioned, the Patriots, or we'll talk about the Bears, that go out and get all these guys, or it's a team that we're about to talk about in the Baltimore Ravens where you only make like 2 or 3 moves, but it's the ones that you kind of feel are needed. Starting off, they get re-signing Ronnie Stanley, offensive tackle, 3 years, $60 million. Not a bad deal. I mean, you're only paying him $20 million for an all-pro, left tackle. Excuse me. And then they get a fullback back, Patrick Ricard, who's been there for God knows how many years now. And then DeAndre Hopkins, which might be one of those situations of, Celtics Shaq, 76ers Paul George, Mavericks Klay Thompson.
There's been a lot of
Let
whispers.
me cook. No, I'm just kidding.
There's been a lot of whispers of the Ravens being a wide receiver graveyard where guys go to end their career.
Des Bryant.
Yep. Steve Smith.
Odell.
Let
me cook. Yeah.
But no, I think the Ravens are a real special case in the NFL right now because I remember after that playoff game that they lost, Trey was distraught. And he was like, what do we have to do? And I was like, that's the issue. It's like nothing.
Not much.
You have everything you need to win a Super Bowl. So now it's just about maybe getting another wide receiver that takes a little bit of the pressure off of Zay. And that's about it. Like, you can't really add too much more to that team. You already have Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. You have a great defense. So it's like you have everything you need. It's just about winning at this point and beating the Bills and the Chiefs and getting to that point. Because I think if they could make it to a Super Bowl, I think they could win it. It's just getting out of their own conference and division that's the issue for them currently. So I'm excited to see what they do. They're always going to be a threat. As long as Lamar Jackson is their quarterback, they always have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm interested to see what they do. But, yeah, there's just not much you can do for that team.
Caden, Ravens record in 5 seconds next year. Just spitballing. 17 games.
Thank you. That's too much pressure. 11-4. 11-4. That's not even 17.
That's 15 games.
11-6.
11-6. All right. Well, Trey, if you're listening, comment your initial thoughts. What do you guys think your record will be? We'll move on to another team in the AFC North, the Cincinnati Bengals. They get rid of their defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, who has been good. He went to a Super Bowl a couple years ago. Now with the Colts. Round of applause. Really only big news for them, obviously franchise tagging T. Higgins, getting Mike Gesicki back.
Free my boy.
Yeah, free T. Higgins. Rumor has it T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are supposed to be getting new contracts soon.
Yeah.
Heard that they're trying to do that as fast as possible.
As fast as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's smart. You got to keep those guys around. I think the Bengals showed us last year that they are still one of the best teams in the NFL. It was a nightmare year for them. But yeah, I think just retaining everyone you can, trying to capture that magic again. We talked about it before. Joe Burrow saying that as long as I'm at quarterback, we're always a contender. I think that's the truth. They're definitely a threat in the AFC, and I'm excited to kind of see how they keep progressing forward. But they're another team where it's just like you could shore up your defense a little bit, yeah, but like you got a pretty solid team around you to like make a run.
It's going to have to be the defense because, I mean, we saw last year their offense was scoring like 40 points a game and just losing, which is crazy. But with that said, they signed defensive lineman B.J. Hill, 3-year, $33 million extension. He's been pretty good. Marco Wilson, corner, re-signed a 1-year deal. He's been pretty good. So we'll just see. I mean, they seem to just like re-sign a bunch of guys. And then what will be interesting is if Trey Hendrickson actually does leave or if they're just going to give him a fat contract like Myles Garrett. But will they have the money to do that when,
And
you're trying to keep Jamar Chase?
And is he worth a fat contract?
I don't know.
I would say no.
If he's on the Colts, I would say yes.
Yeah. A lot of other teams would say yes. But, I mean, when you're talking about Trey Hendrickson, I think he's a dog. But is he Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons type of dog to earn that fat contract
Don't
when you
think
could
so.
use that to, like, shore up your defense? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's why we're not in the front office. That's why we're sitting here on this couch talking about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Myles Garrett, moving on to the Cleveland Browns, he wanted out of Cleveland. Seemed very evident until someone gives you $123 million guaranteed dollars.
It'll change your mind real quick.
I think that would be the only thing that would convince me to live in Cleveland for another 4 or 6 years, whatever it is.
Yep.
$123 million guaranteed. Average per year salary, $40 million. Also includes a no-trade clause.
Yeah, I mean, when you're offered that sum of money, you don't really turn it down because you're not going to get that
No.
anywhere. You don't want to pull a Dennis Schroeder and then say no to that, and then you can never get that type of money ever again. But not to compare the two, but
Yeah.
I think it's,
Schroeder, Myles
that's
Garrett.
one of those guys that you keep. If you're the Browns, you don't let him go. I know he wanted out. That might have just been more of a push to try to get a better contract. That's what I think happened because, I mean, nobody had that type of money to go out and get Myles Garrett, and you would have to trade away your soul to get him.
What's crazy is I think the Eagles were like the favorite to land
Which
him.
is nuts.
Which is stupid.
It's insane. But I think the Browns have a lot of things to figure out. They just got Kenny Pickett,
Yeah, I was going to talk about him next.
so that's huge.
I mean, I think
Super Bowl winning quarterback.
I saw a tweet from a Browns fan that was like, well, he didn't touch 26 women,
True.
illegally. So
Yeah.
that's a start in the right
Yeah, but
direction.
he fake slid,
Morally.
so I don't know.
Yeah, it's a moral signing. But you got to feel for guys like Max Crosby, who signs the biggest non-quarterback deal ever,
Yeah.
and then just like 3 days later, Myles Garrett's like, nah.
Yeah.
I think Big Cat was like, there should be a rule where there has to be like a week until you can sign the next biggest contract ever. You got to let some guy have the time for a week at least.
Honestly, we need to stop saying like this is the biggest signing.
It's just
like the salary cap's going up. No shit.
It's
All
gonna-
these
it's-
players are gonna get more money. Dude, in 10 years it's gonna be like soccer where these guys are getting like $1 billion for like 15-year contracts.
I think they predicted in the NBA in like the next 5 years or 10 years, it's going to be like $900 million contracts,
Yeah.
which is insane.
Yeah.
I remember that a couple years ago, Jokic got the biggest contract, and then last year Jaylen Brown got it, and whew, wouldn't be me. All right, last team in the division, the Pittsburgh Steelers get their guy back, Mason Rudolph.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should petition for a Mason Rudolph versus Kenny Pickett game in the middle of like November.
Yeah.
Monday night game.
Just pissing down snow.
Yeah.
Just I'm talking like 3-6 final score.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking.
Like this old school gridiron football.
Real AFC North stuff.
Just two mediocre white dudes going at it.
And then Myles Garrett just takes off his helmet again and just
Beats the
assault.
shit out of him.
No, but I think the big news in Pittsburgh, obviously, DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm.
He's going there. Just gets his 4-year, $132 million extension. I don't know how much was guaranteed, but he leaves the Seahawks and he goes back to the Steelers. Maybe has a chance to play with this guy Russell Wilson again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were playing golf when this happened, and I was like, "Oh,
Slight
shit.
flex.
Yeah, right." DK Metcalf to the Steelers, and Morgan was like, "Sick. Who's gonna throw him the ball?" And I was like, "That's a good point. I don't know." It's looking like Russell Wilson.
Could
I've
be
heard-
Aaron Rodgers.
It could be Aaron Rodgers. Heard some mumblings about maybe them picking up Jackson Dart in the draft, picking up a guy. Russell Wilson, you know what you're going to get out of him. You're going to get a pretty solid season that doesn't get you anywhere, and that's kind of what he's done his whole career, minus a couple seasons with the Seahawks where he won. But he's always been the guy that's like going to be into the MVP race, or at least he was recently-ish. He's going to be in the MVP race until about week 12, and then he's going to just start sucking, and he's going to drop out of that pretty quickly. I don't know. I think
But Sierra.
good point, Mr. Unlimited. But it's just one of those things where, I don't know. He's such a weird case of a quarterback because he is good, and he got him to the playoffs. But at the same time, like, he just doesn't seem like the guy anymore who can really win you anything.
Mm-hmm.
If Aaron Rodgers goes there, you get a good offensive line with that many weapons he can throw to.
Good defense.
I mean, maybe we could see a little prime Rodgers, but you have to have a line that can let Aaron Rodgers just stand still in the pocket because he doesn't have the mobility to move around anymore. But yeah, I think it's weird because when you get guys like that, you almost feel like you're in a win now mode, and you don't really want to develop a rookie quarterback. But I don't know. I think George Pickens still very young. DK Metcalf still got a decent amount of time in the league.
Pat Fryermuth
is there. So I think, honestly, if I'm them, I'm going out and maybe picking up a younger quarterback who can maybe make a difference in the draft maybe. Jackson Dart, I think, is a really solid prospect coming out of this draft who's going to fall probably to the second round unless a team like the Steelers goes out and gets him. So that's definitely an avenue, but I think they have to just figure it out because when you get a guy like DK Metcalf and you're taking the pressure off of him and George Pickens, those guys are going to be doing whatever they want out there. So you got to make sure that you're shoring up that offensive line and getting them a guy who can make things happen on the field quarterback-wise.
That was going to be my next question. Is this the two biggest crash-out wide receivers on one team ever?
Yeah.
And both of them, ironically, wore number 14 last year. Obviously, someone's going to have to change their number.
Yeah.
I think at one point, Mason Rudolph in college, I think, wore number 14 too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should just let them all wear 14.
Yeah, why not?
Like college, you know?
They all look different.
Yeah.
We can tell the difference.
A little bit.
As long as they're having fun.
As long as they're having fun.
Yeah, no, I still have nightmares in my mind about when George Pickens took a Georgia Tech player's head and just slammed him into a brick wall.
That was fun.
Like the week before our SEC championship game, we lost. It was huge. But, yeah, no, that Georgia legend.
Last, I think this is a Mississippi State legend. Last signing for the Steelers, Darius Slay signed a 1-year deal. Super Bowl champion Darius Slay, I should say. Eagles kind of getting rid of they're pretty much their whole secondary except for all the white boys.
Yeah.
It's changing. Times are changing.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think the Eagles are just cutting. Age.
Oh, we'll talk about the Eagles in a second. But Darius Slay, Mississippi State legend.
Yeah, Mississippi State legend. He's on the stadium. I've seen him a couple times at Mississippi State. He's a dog. He's always been a dog.
Kind of sucks now.
Yeah, but I mean, like he's kind of getting older. But he's always been very consistently above average, and I think that's always been to his benefit in the league. And I think that's exactly kind of what the Steelers need to pair him up with Porter, and kind of hopefully have a good little no-fly zone type of situation going out there is what their hope is, I'm sure. But Darius Slay at this point in the career, he's looking for money. He's won 2 Super Bowls. Veteran. Like he's like I can go out and go play where I want to play. Like, and Steelers is a pretty cool place to go play. So good for him. I'm happy for him. I hope he succeeds. Mississippi State, go Dogs, Hail State. But yeah.
We will move on to the AFC South, where the Houston Texans made about 30 moves, and I don't think any of them made them better, except for maybe 2. Yeah. Christian Kirk. He got traded there from the Jaguars, in division trade, which is kind of rare. Yeah. He goes there from the Jags, and they get C.J. Gardner-Johnson again, another guy from the Eagles secondary, just won a Super Bowl, kind of a crash out, going to join the Houston Texans, where I think they kind of had a lot of secondary issue last year, so that might help.
Yeah, no, the Houston Texans are another weird case because they are a really solid team. C.J. Stroud is really, really good, but last year they were just struck by injury like the entire year.
Every single one of their wide receivers.
Literally every receiver was hurt. Literally the guy they pulled up from the practice squad on his second play in the game just like broke Tank Dell's knee in half. So it was just like a nightmare kind of situation there. And they still found a way to make it to the playoffs and win a game.
Well, the way is you play in the AFC South.
That's true. That is also true. But they did win a game. They beat the Chargers. So that was good. I think they're a team that if they can stay healthy, I don't put them in the Super Bowl contender category, but I do put them in like the playoff threat.
Right under there.
Where you don't want to play them really, but I don't think they're going to like go win a Super Bowl anytime soon. But I don't know. You always got to keep an eye out. If they can all kind of link up and kind of keep moving forward, stay healthy, they're a dangerous team. So they're another team that like doesn't need too much. They did everything they needed to do like 2-3 years ago when they made all those trades and the draft picks and all that. They did what they needed to do. So at this point, it's just trying to ride this out until all these guys get a little too old or too expensive, and then kind of moving on to a different situation.
A couple interesting things, too. They get wide receiver Justin Watson. He was on the Chiefs recently. Former All-Pro returner Braxton Berrios, also known as Alex Earl's boyfriend, is now with the Houston Texans. That was huge going around, does Alex Earl move to Houston?
Yeah, huge. And then hopefully doesn't pull a Carson Beck in Miami.
Yeah. But that one weird thing that they did do was get rid of Laramie Tunsil when that offensive line kind of struggled to protect C.J. Stroud last year. That was one of the big points of emphasis. Yeah. And they just give them to the Commanders, who we'll talk about later, but they got a lot better. We will move on to the Indianapolis Colts. Bear with me. Indiana Jones has a good ring to it, you know?
Yeah.
He's going to stink.
Okay.
My hope, quarterback duel, Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. They both, throw a football at each other's head.
Yeah.
Eye surgery, LASIK, whatever. We just lose 17 games in a row and we go get Arch Manning.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rough situation. That's a lose-lose situation, in my personal opinion. I think Anthony Richardson has shown us that he's not going to be anything special in this league unless he has a crazy.
But what
blowout
about
year.
Daniel Jones?
I'll tell you one thing about Daniel Jones. He, for the most part, is cheeks. But there have been moments where he has played really, really well.
That one year.
Like maybe out of the New York media and kind of like hidden away a little bit. Maybe we see a Daniel Jones resurgence.
I hope not. We need to lose games. We need to lose games. Yes, this really hurts. Obviously, I know the Fitzgerald's watching this. Scott, you're going to have a great time with this. We know Daniel Jones is bad, but guess what? You guys didn't get Matthew Stafford either, so fuck off. The Colts get Khalil Herbert, Ashton Doolin, Shavarius Ward, and Cameron Bynum. Those were the two I was kind of happy with. Beef up our secondary. Our secondary was really ass last year. I swear, whenever we play the Texans, the first play of the game is always like 65-yard touchdown from C.J. Stroud to Nico Collins. Always seem to be on the same two people. So let's hope bringing in Cameron Bynum, bringing in Shavarius Ward, that will stop that play at least.
Yep.
That's the one play I asked them to stop.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't really care. Let's lose some games.
Yeah.
Let's go get Arch Manning. And even if he sucks, at least I can buy a jersey and it'll look cool.
Yep.
And we can have faith for like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So that's my hope. Any thoughts on Daniel Jones, Caden? You want to get it out of the way?
No, I don't think I have any thoughts on Daniel Jones. I'm sorry that he chose you.
Yeah,
Right. That's sad for you.
The Vikings should have chose him just like as a backup.
Hey, maybe.
No,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys just lose it all, I guess.
We've been in that mediocre, the worst place you could be in football.
Yep.
You know,
Slightly above average.
slightly below 500. You're
Yeah.
not making the playoffs. You're not winning your division. You're not getting a good draft pick.
Getting like 15 in the draft.
Yeah, I think we got 14, 13, and 4 the last 3 years, and 4 being a flop of a quarterback. So, Jaguars, move on. Tennessee, Duval. Tennessee Titans. Sebastian Joseph Day re-signed with them, defensive lineman. He's pretty good. Van Jefferson, 1-year deal, wide receiver. Moving on, punny Johnny Hecker. He's a name.
How about that?
God, the AFC South is so cheeks. All right, AFC West. Start. Obviously, this is alphabetical, so good news.
Yeah.
We're starting with the Denver Broncos.
How about them?
I'll let you start wherever you want to start, but I'll just name, obviously, tight end Evan Ingram, and just got their 2-year deal. DJ Jones re-signed 3-year deal. Dre Greenlaw 3-year deal, and then Hufanga, I cannot pronounce his first name, but safety, formerly with the San Francisco 49ers, signs a deal, 3 years, up $45 million. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? I think they're all your favorites. What are you excited for, Caden?
Hey, we got our Joker. I'm sure everyone saw that. That's good. Beefing up the defense is never a bad thing in this league. Defense wins championships.
Especially after having, a top 3 defense in the league last year.
Exactly. I was telling Christian after we signed, I think it was Fungi first. I was like, I'm happy. I was like, let's beef it up. But I was like, I'm not worried about our defense. And then Greenlaw was next, and I'm like, okay, well, that's also great. Don't get me wrong. As long as he's healthy, our plays. And I feel like last year we saw
yes,
glimpses.
He was injured.
Yeah.
I think still, yeah.
Yeah, but, he didn't look terrible.
Mm-hmm.
We can hope after another off season that he's back to healthy. And then, yeah.
You're talking about you were not worried about the defense, and then you guys go get a guy like Evan Ingram on the offensive end, which I think having a tight end like that, a pass-catching tight end, I don't think any of your tight ends had over 200 or 300 yards last year.
Oh, it was disgusting.
So bringing in a guy that's like a pass-catching tight end is huge for a young quarterback.
We haven't had a tight end since, I couldn't tell you.
Julius Thomas.
Yeah, I feel like we had one guy after that.
Yeah, there
bad.
definitely was. Bro, Noah Fant.
Oh, yeah, he was all right. Yeah. So then, yeah.
He got you guys Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I'm excited. It just puts us in a good position for the draft.
Great position.
Hopefully we go get Genty. I've been saying it since the both seasons ended.
I think Joey's been saying it since during the season.
All right, you win. Joey's been saying it since before we knew who Ashton Genty was.
Cam Scadaboo always might be available in the second round.
Yeah.
Broncos to,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
You
that's
could
true.
always, because now I feel like the plan was to go running back, tight end in the draft, or tight end, running back. Could always go Genty and Scadaboo.
Oh.
Can you imagine that backfield?
That would be awesome.
That'd be unbelievable.
It's like a
They
Bijan.
fit the mold, the
Yeah,
Broncos
'cause,
mold.
Like, what else do you really need other than pass catchers and wide receivers? But
And Scadaboo can do also like that Taysom Hill stuff, you know, where you throw him in for like a little trick play here and there.
he's out of his mind. You see him shaking that head, dude.
Yeah.
He's psycho.
You know,
Love
Sean Payton's
it.
probably cooking right now, dude. Sean Payton, as we speak, is probably like twiddling his thumbs with his like feet up in the air, just looking at a whiteboard, like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be beautiful."
Always Sunny in Philadelphia thing. It's on the
Yeah,
clipboard.
yeah. It's Charlie Day, baby. Maybe the biggest signing in the AFC West as we move to the Kansas City Chiefs, Gardner Minshew, backup quarterback for they get him and Bailey Zappi to be backups for
Ooh, what
Patrick
are they
Mahomes.
preparing for?
A lot. Kareem Hunt's back. Elijah Mitchell from the 49ers is now there. I think he also spent a little bit of time with the Dolphins last year. Marquise Brown re-signed. I think right after what happened? Which one of their was it Xavier Worthy that recently got arrested?
Yep.
I think literally the morning after they re-signed Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
Which kind of funny. I don't know if that was always going to happen that way, but it just looked funny. One huge thing I think for the Chiefs, obviously, when you have a team like that, you can't keep everybody. I think the Eagles were like an example of that. You know, how you got to get rid of some guys. Obviously, Chiefs after winning 2 Super Bowls, a lot of their guys weren't on the team after that. But getting Nick Bolton back, their linebacker, who's been great for I think like the last 3 years, getting him back for 3 years, I don't think a lot of people thought he was going to go back there. I think getting a guy like that for that defense is huge. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are another team, don't need much. They just got to keep riding what they got right now.
And I guess they technically get back Travis Kelce, which was a thought of conversation.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that has to do with them not winning the Super Bowl last year. I think if they would have won it, I think he would have retired. But he's back. He's not what he used to be. He's not as big of a threat as he used to be. He's still a threat, but he's not anything that's like going to win or lose games for a lot of people, I don't think. But, yeah, they're just interesting. I think they might be getting a lot of quarterbacks because I think they've been seeing some injury build up over Patrick Mahomes' career so far. And we're getting close to the point where he's been so banged up for so long, he's on the verge of maybe sustaining a decent injury where he can't play for a couple weeks, and they need to be prepared for that. And you can do a lot worse than Gardner Minshew. He's by no means like a starting quarterback, but you can do a lot worse in terms of backup quarterbacks.
One drive away from the Colts being in the playoffs a couple years ago.
Yep, literally. So I mean, there's worse guys you can have behind you. And
Daniel Jones.
Yeah. And so I think they're prepping just to make sure that if Mahomes does go down, we can have a guy who can, sustain and win a couple games while he's out. But I don't know. We'll see. They're just another team that doesn't need much and kind of has what they need.
Last 2 teams in the AFC, Geno Smith, obviously huge now for the Raiders. Are they going to look for a QB in the draft? That's something to talk about. They get Mostert. They get Max Crosby on that huge deal that we talked about earlier. Getting him back is huge. I mean, you don't want to lose a guy like that in a few years when free agency comes. They get Jeremy Chin, great safety. I got him on a 2-year deal. Raiders, they're working in the right direction. I think that's a good sign for them. In that division, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, and getting Pete Carroll too. I mean, that's a guy who's been itching to get back into coaching ever since he got let go. I guess
Retired, kind of.
Yeah. But
he's so old.
Yeah, he's so old, but you couldn't really tell. Like he's like in his late 70s, I think, and he looks like he's like mid 60s, like early 60s. Like,
for real.
So he's got a lot of energy left, and I think that team needs a guy who has had some experience and really knows what like a winning team can do. He's getting some Seahawks on that team. So I'm excited to see what they do. I think they're a team that has a high ceiling but also a very low floor. So we'll just have to see how they adapt.
Last team in the AFC West, Taylor Heineke is now the backup for the Chargers. They get Najee Harris in that backfield with, I think, J.K. Dobbins and one of Gus Edwards, or one of them will probably still be there. Yeah. Jalen Reagor, Mike Williams back with the Chiefs. That was, or not the Chiefs, with the Chargers. Really weird that he just left for a year and then came back on less money.
Yeah.
One of those things. Take the deal.
Yep.
Mekhi Becton, offensive guard, he was with the Jets. He was terrible last year. Let's see if he has a better year. They get Khalil Mack back. They get Denzel Perryman back. And punter J.K. Scott, one of the best punters in the league, is now back with the Chargers. So Jackson's going to tell you guys about Verb Energy bars real quick, and then we're going to fly through the NFC because Jackson has a tea time to make. So see you on the other side.
Verb Energy bars give you that extra boost that you need in the morning. They have an assortment of different types of bars, whether it's from caffeinated bars for the morning, as well as protein bars, whether in the morning or after your workouts. My personal favorite right now is the chocolate chip banana bread. It's awesome. Helps me get through the day, through the podcast, also through the work throughout the week. So right now, if you go onto their website, use code ROCKSOLID, you can get 30% off your next order. Verb Energy is the best way to start your day. Go check them out.
All right, now that you went and bought Verb Energy bars, you can listen now to the rest of the free agency. We're going to start in the NFC East. Dallas Cowboys. They still have Jerry Jones, so I feel like that's a loss.
Yeah.
Bad coach. We don't really know, but not good offensive coordinator last year, so why would he be a good head coach?
Still nothing been done with Micah, right?
Nope, no extension for Micah. Javonte Williams, Broncos legend.
Yep.
Miles Sanders, Eagles legend. What do you see? Do you think he's going to be okay over there? You could be honest.
No, I think it's going to be the exact same. It's going to, he'll have the same year. He'll be all right. I wish him well. He did nothing wrong to me. He just tore his ACL. So
he tore everything in that game.
It was so sad. It was a sad day.
Shout out to Fitzgerald's, the New York Giants. Get Tommy DeVito back. That's huge for the Italian community. Darius Slayton. Why do we keep resigning this dude? He does nothing. He does nothing. David texted me the other day. It said that they got a lot of good players defensively in this free agency. I'm looking at these names. I don't know who the hell these people are, to be honest with you. I'm sure they're okay. Like, this guy got paid a 3-year, $54 million contract, Paulson Adebo. I'm sure he's okay. Demetrius Flanagan Fowles and Javon Holland. Oh, I know who Javon Holland is. They both got 3-year deals. Those I know those. One of those names. Yeah.
Pretty sure Javon Holland was a dog.
Yeah, he used to play for the Dolphins. Then he had like that weird case.
Yeah, I think he played for Georgia too.
Weird case. Why is he around? Yeah. So I mean, the Giants apparently, according to David's sources, they're just a quarterback away. So
they don't have one.
But you didn't get Stafford.
They're a quarterback away from being a running back away, from being a wide receiver away, from being a lineman away, from being a defense.
They have Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, they do, and he's a dog. And if they can, draft maybe like Cam Ward or something like that, and he can pop off and do well.
Russell Wilson's visiting with the Giants today.
Hey, I'm just saying.
By the time this
worst guys you can have.
by the time this comes out, you never know. I think it might be Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson.
I think all of our friends need to go through a Russell Wilson year.
I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Yeah. Well, would you rather have Russell Wilson or Daniel Jones?
I'd rather have Arch Manning. I think we're working in the right direction.
I'd rather put me at quarterback.
Yeah, send me out there. I'll lose us some games.
Both seasons in the same way, except we get a way better draft pick.
Yes, exactly. So I guess we'll talk more about the Giants once the draft comes around, because I feel like that's more when their conversation will be viable. But according to sources, David, one quarterback away. So interesting to see. There's a joke. Philadelphia Eagles get DTR in that trade with Kenny Pickett. Who cares? Jalen Hurts always seems to miss just like one game, so who cares?
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley, 2-year, $41 million extension, the highest running back deal ever. 36 M's guaranteed.
He brought it back.
I think that's huge for the running back market.
Yep.
Shout out the running backs. They get Zach Bond back, which was huge in the playoffs. Adoree Jackson signs there. Other than that, not really much to talk about with them.
No, not much to do. They got their team.
They're Super Bowl.
Yeah, they are on path to maybe have like a dynasty type of run the next couple of years. So, not much needs to be done there.
A team that might have something to say about that. The Washington Commanders. They broke our Fiskometer meter. I think Caden threw out their Fiskometer meter in the trash a while ago. Deebo Samuel, obviously not the Deebo Samuel we all know and kind of love.
Yeah.
But he's, maybe that was a James Harden-esque. Maybe he loses the belly. Maybe he, goes into this. He's with Cliff Kingsbury, good offense coordinator. You got Dan Quinn, good coach. They get Zach Ertz back. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is looking to become a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, if not already being in there. They get Bobby Wagner back. They get Laramie Tunsil in that trade. They get Tanner Scott, offensive tackle, back. I think they're looking in the right direction by far. This might be one of the best wins after one of the best winning off seasons, free agencies, after one of the best winning seasons in terms of expectations.
No, yeah, I think they've just bolstered their roster as much as they could. I think they did really good last year, and they made it to the conference championship with a team that wasn't even supposed to make the playoffs, let alone be good. So if they can keep that expectation going, they can keep that chemistry with that team going, they're going to be a serious problem again, and a team that nobody really wants to see. And they have a very, very bright future. If Jaden Daniels can stay healthy, they are going to be a problem for many years to come.
Commie meters, that I probably shouldn't use that word. Do you have a different meter name for the Washington Commanders next year?
The fucko meter.
The commie meter.
The commie meter is crazy.
Like we should rank them by communists.
Yeah.
In like Hitler, I don't know if he's communist.
I don't think he was a
I don't
communist.
I think he was either.
communist.
Generally
Is
a
Kim
bad
Kim
person.
Jong Un, is he a communist? I think so, right?
I think he's also just generally a bad
Well,
person.
yeah,
Let's go,
obviously.
maybe like Stalin.
I think he's a certified.
Well, he's a bad person too.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
but
think
he's
he's a
like-
communist.
Okay, so
He's a
Stalin,
known
so
communist.
Stalin being like the highest, and then Elon Musk being like the lowest, and we just like rank them
Yeah.
in turn. We'll figure it out.
We'll put it to the job.
Something to workshop
We'll
for us.
workshop it, yeah.
Another team to they want to have a say about who's having the best free agency so
Yeah.
far. Move on to the NFC North. It is the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Bringing in Ben Johnson at head coach. He got to bring in all of his guys in terms of coaching. Let me read this off, and then we'll just give him a grade. Offensive guard, Jonah Jackson, was okay with the Rams. Sean McVay did say he's a great player, just they were moving him around in weird places. Once he's back in his normal spot, they think he'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Tooney, huge from the Chiefs. That was, I think, their first move, going to get guys for Caleb Williams. Center, Drew Dahlman, 3-year, $42 million deal. He was great last year.
Mm-hmm.
Grady Jarrett, Falcons legend,
Yeah.
kind of.
So was Dahlman.
So is Dahlman, yeah, defensive tackle. In terms of what they needed and what they got so far, what would we grade them for
A+.
agency?
I
New head
think-
coach, offensive line,
Mhm.
defensive tackle.
Mhm.
Maybe they're just looking for an edge rusher now.
Yeah, I think it's an A+. If you want me to be honest with you, I think they killed it. I think it's so rare to see a team have needs, know what they are, and address them properly. Like, they literally just shored up an entire side of the offensive line.
Mhm.
And so it's like,
The inside.
yeah, literally, like they solidified that. So now Caleb Williams is going to actually have time in the pocket. He's going to be able to actually, like, maybe have a season this year where he's not running around all the time. Their defense was not bad last year, so adding a guy like Grady Jarrett, who's been phenomenal on the Falcons for so long, is huge for them. So I think it's an A+. They got a new coach. They got all those players. They shored up the offensive line. They still have all their threats at wide receiver. Cole Kmet's a dog. DeAndre Swift is a guy who is not great, but can have a season.
And rumors are swirling. They might be looking at Ashton Genty as well.
Yeah, so they are making a run to try to be like as best as they can be, and I really appreciate when teams do that. But yeah, I give it an A+.
A lot of people are saying this is all on Caleb Williams, like next year. Like
Mhm.
you got the coach, you got the guys.
Yep.
It's on you now.
Yep.
Caden, free agency grade so far for the Bears.
Give him an A. I won't give him the plus. They've done a lot. Don't get me wrong, but they did get an edge rusher too. By the way,
Who was it? It was.
he was it from the Colts.
Oh.
Deo.
Yeah, he's ass.
Well, they paid him a lot of money.
Oda bingo. Oda
Thank you.
Ooh, wow, that's
Oda-
fucked up. Oda, you be careful saying that word. No, I'm just saying. I'm saying be careful. Don't say it in the mic. Do you see this other guy's name? Linebacker Amen Ogabaga Bingabo. Okay.
Amen.
Ogbong.
Bingamanga.
You be careful too. Let's watch out. All right, we'll move on to a different team. The Detroit Lions, obviously, little weird position at their end. You know, their window's kind of closing.
Mm-hmm.
Not much you can go out and do in terms of, get more guys that you kind of already don't have.
Yeah.
But they get Tim Patrick back.
Yep.
DJ Reed, corner. He's pretty good. Other than that, they're hoping to get – I think that's the thing about free agency, too. You're kind of getting back those injured guys as well.
Yeah.
Getting Aiden Hutchinson back, that's kind of like a free agent in itself, Not really much to talk about with them.
Yeah, no, they're in that like kind of weird category like we've talked about with a couple teams so far where they don't need anything, they have what they need. It's just about making the run and getting it done.
Packers offensive guard Aaron Banks agreed to a 4-year deal, $77 million. And corner Nate Hobbs agreed to a 4-year, $48 million deal. Brandon McManus, Broncos legend, allegedly, some issues.
Certified.
But he's also one of the best kickers in the league.
Yep.
He goes back there. Minnesota Vikings, Aaron Jones, back with them. A lot of people thought he might be on the move either the Chargers or the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird to see him go back there. Will Fries, offensive guard from the Colts. Also, center Ryan Kelly from the Colts are both there. That's kind of, holy shit, what are we doing? They also get Byron Murphy, Texas legend. Goes there. Isaiah Rodgers, Theo Jackson, Harrison Smith. Oh, my gosh, dude, go away. Harrison Smith returns for his 14th year in the NFL, all with Minnesota. Yeah, he just needs to let it go.
Minnesota legend.
All-time white boy.
Yeah, let it go.
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Move on to the NFC South. Megan Fox. No, I'm just kidding. Falcons.
Yep.
Start with the Falcons. Leonard Floyd, Morgan Fox, defensive lineman, Mike Hughes, Jake Matthews, good offensive tackle. Seems like you guys lost more than you gained so far.
Yeah, no, I'm very confused currently. Like when we were talking about when we were going to record this, I said I was going to be on Fontenot's bumper about all this. Since then, he's done some stuff. Like I appreciate him shoring up some cornerback issues that we've had. Justin Simmons still out there. I'd love to see us sign him back for about like another 2 year to pair him up with Jesse Bates for a little bit longer. When we got rid of Grady Jarrett, I was expecting a whale in return. I was expecting we're not going to pay him a bunch of money because we're going to go pay this person.
Myles Garrett.
Yeah, or even like a Micah Parsons. But I'm kind of disappointed on that end. But in general, he's doing all right. He's got us an edge rusher, a defensive lineman. Leonard Floyd's solid. Georgia dog, Georgia legend. He's solid. I think we're shoring up some things. But the only thing left on my checklist to really have a good offseason, I think Mike Parsons is out of the question. I don't think we have the facilities to go get him at all. But Trey Hendrickson, I feel like, is a guy who we could go get, and I feel like that would be a huge addition to this team and a difference maker because the Falcons are in an interesting situation where I think Michael Penix, we got to see how he plays this year. He played really good to end the year out last year. He's got a very high ceiling. I have a lot of expectations for him going into this year. We have we have one of the better running back duos in the league with Bijan and Tyler Algier. Darnell Mooney and Drake London out there. Kyle Pitts, if he can catch a fucking ball, is really good. He's really athletic. Not much of a blocker, but that's why we went out and got Charlie Warner for that exact reason. But I think we are in a position to where if our defense can play decent and Michael can have a good year, they're not Super Bowl contenders, but I think they fall into that category of like a Texans situation where it's like they're probably not going to win the Super Bowl, but it's not a team you want to see in the playoffs. Like,
we're going to have a friskometer for the Falcons.
For the Falcons, maybe, But, that's kind of my take on it. I think there's still work to be done that I would love to see them do. Trey Hendrickson's still on my list. I really want him. So we'll see if Fontenot does anything.
We'll fly through the rest of the South like the Civil War. J.C. Horn, 4-year extension. I think it was the biggest cornerback extension ever, or biggest cornerback contract ever until I'm sure Pat Surtain gets one very soon.
Yeah.
For the Saints, Juwan Johnson, 3-year deal. Tight end. What'd you say?
So I think he already got it.
Oh, he already got it. So
think
J.C.
so.
Horn just beat him out.
He might have. I think he got it last year, I feel like. I could be lying. I'll go look it up.
Chase Young returned on a 3-year deal with the Saints. It kind of feels like he found a home after bouncing around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Reed, safety, used to be at the Chiefs. He's there now. Cam Jordan, the corniest person in the NFL, after Jalen Hurts is returning for a 15th year. Give it up.
Justin Reed's the kicker, right? The corner.
No, he's the safety. Yeah.
But he kicks for him.
Mm-hmm.
Saints have their kicker.
Did you find the Pat Surtain contract?
I think he signed it last year.
Okay.
I can't tell when he signed it. It's not telling me. It's just a salary.
Oh, I guess I forgot there's one more team in the South. Chris Godwin, re-signing. That's kind of huge. He's just kind of their guy,
Yeah.
Sterling Shepard, don't know why he's still in the NFL.
It was last year.
Okay. Edge rusher Hassan Reddick, kind of big, going to the Bucks.
That's who I wanted last year for the Falcons.
That's a big get. Levante David re-signing there as well. I feel like they're going to have a little bit of a bounce back year. Obviously, they weren't that bad.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs. I feel like they're going to be a little better than they were last year.
Yep.
And them and the Falcons are going to compete again for that spot.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I could see two teams from that division going. I could see the Falcons and the Bucks going, to be honest.
It could be one of those years.
I think both teams have a good chance to have 10-plus win seasons.
Last division that we'll talk about, the NFC West. You can now buy Marvin Harrison Jr. jerseys for after a whole year.
That's insane.
Yeah, you could
I
finally.
forgot about that.
You can finally buy them now. Other than that, no, really. Who cares about the
Sam Darnold.
Cardinals? No, the Cardinals.
Oh, I thought you were just talking
We're,
about
we're,
the
getting,
NFC as
no,
a
we're
whole.
getting there. The Cardinals. I'm really hoping Kyler Murray gets traded to a good team.
Yeah.
I'm hoping like the Steelers or something would be fun for him. Something to look out for.
Did he ask
Joey
for a trade?
Joey on the scoop. No. Joey on the scoop. So I record this, or we already did, I guess. Kyler Murray will be traded. Kyler Murray will be traded before the season starts. Write it down. Mark it down. Everybody heard it here first from Joey Scoops. The Rams, they get
Ice cream man.
Jimmy Garoppolo back to back Matthew Stafford, who got his deal that he wanted back there.
Mm-hmm.
They get rid of Cooper Kupp, which we'll talk about in a second, but they get Devontae Adams.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be back on the West Coast. He now is. The Rams are looking good, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know why Matthew Stafford wanted to leave or why they wanted to part ways or whatever. Cooper Kupp leaving, I kind of get that one. It was kind of inevitable based on what Sean McVay said. But they were one drive away from beating the Eagles.
Yeah.
And like the only team that looked like they had a chance to beat the Eagles at all in the playoffs. And I think they're getting better.
Yeah, no, they're very like it's like that scene from The Office when when Dwight's looking away and then you turn around and she's there and he like jumps and says, "Oh shit." That's what the Rams are. They don't seem like a team that should be like good for some reason, but like every single year they're making a push to try to win the Super Bowl, no matter how dog shit their team was or is.
I gotta love it.
You gotta love it. That's just pure football right there.
Sean McVay's pure football.
I think as long as Matthew Stafford's there, they're going to be a pain in the ass for a lot of teams.
Stan Kroenke masterclass. Nuggets legend Stan Kroenke. San Francisco 49ers, they lose a lot of people that we've talked about, like going throughout all these teams. We've mentioned about fucking 8 of their guys.
Yeah.
But they get Mac Jones
Huge.
to back up possibly Brock Purdy, who's waiting on that extension,
Yeah.
which we're all very interested to see that number. Really weird. They cut Kyle Juszczyk. A lot of drama happens in the WAGs, the wife and girlfriends of the 49ers, between Fred Warner's wife or girlfriend, whoever the hell she is, and Kyle Juszczyk's wife and girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And now Kyle Juszczyk, as of this morning, re-signs
I was literally just about to say
with the 49ers.
That's crazy.
Trouble in paradise.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff to talk about for the wives and girlfriends. Seattle Seahawks, I think one of the bigger splashes in free agency. Obviously losing DK Metcalf, getting rid of Tyler Lockett. He's still a free agent. And then losing Geno Smith as well to the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
They get Sam Darnold. Huge for Sam Darnold. Gets a $100 million deal. Who would have thought?
Not me.
Cooper Kupp on a 3-year deal as well. And then they get DeMarcus Lawrence, who has a lot to say about the Dallas Cowboys recently. Seattle Seahawks, second in the NFC West, maybe?
Yeah. No, I think it's a division that's very winnable for almost every team in there. The Rams obviously are probably the best team in there, but I think if Sam Darnold can have another year like he had, I could easily see them.
Stuff might get spicy.
Messing with them a little bit.
Any thoughts on the NFC South, Cade, before we move on?
I was surprised to see Sam Darnold go to the Seahawks. The Juszczyk shit's really weird, but
Yeah, I'm interested to see that drama.
yeah, I don't know. It says he tested the market, but obviously no one wants to pay him. Which being a fullback,
He's a fullback, yeah.
in this time is not fun.
There's
but
like 2 teams that use a fullback.
It's the 49ers,
and
and the Ravens. Yeah,
yeah,
that's it.
and he played for both teams.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, we'll talk about the last thing. We wrapped up all the teams. Obviously, we'll get more in depth when Jackson doesn't have a tea time, and when the draft comes around, we'll talk more NFL. But I guess this has really been the only NFL news since the Super Bowl, so we had to talk about it. Last thing, LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
What would you have done if you were Stephen A? Would you have punched LeBron right in his face? Would you have told him his son's a bitch?
I don't know if LeBron came in my face. I'm not really sure what I would do in that situation. It's two just stern guys who don't give up a lot of leeway when they're talking to anybody. So,
But as a father,
yeah. But as a basketball player and as a father, I'm like, dude, like,
Let it be known, Stephen A. never wanted to talk about it.
No.
But then he went on 5
Yeah.
different podcasts and TV shows and talked about it.
Yeah, no,
He was on The View.
bro. Like you can't start
Whoopi
something.
Goldberg.
You can't start something with I didn't even want to talk about this today, and then the timestamp under it says 5.5 minutes. And I'm like, you obviously did. But it's just I'll never understand how you can get mad at like a media person. Like you can be upset with them, but like
He's doing his job.
run up to them. I'm like, yeah, dude, he works for ESPN. They're on a 24-hour news cycle, and like they're gonna have to talk about everything. You're LeBron. You're one of the biggest names in sports history. If something gets brought up about your son, it's just ball. He's talking about basketball. He's not. If he was like bringing in his like character into question,
Yeah.
then I get
That's
it.
a whole
But
different
it's
thing.
like he's just talking about his game, and it's like to
His
be
game's
upset
ass.
about that. It's just like I don't know. Maybe he's still in the doghouse from the whole International Women's thing, and he's just trying to prove it back. But I don't know.
Caden, what would you do if LeBron came in your face?
You know, I don't know what I would do. No, I don't understand how you're gonna force Bronny into this league and then get mad when he gets
Ridiculed?
ridiculed for being a bad basketball player because he's not a good basketball player.
That's a great insight.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't be in the league, but
Yeah.
he's
That's
a better
why
basketball
I
player
could,
than
but
me.
Continue.
He's playing great in the G League, and maybe he just needs some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't be mad at the media for being the media.
I think PFT said it best. The only way LeBron can get back at him is if he forces the Lakers to draft Stephen A. next year.
Yes.
And then Stephen A. has to show that he's not good at basketball and then let other media members talk about it.
Yep.
Like, that's the only way we can make it
I
happen.
like that.
Personally, if LeBron came in my face, yeah, I would have slapped him across the fucking face. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously not. But, yeah, no, I just thought it was funny. I thought we had to end on that because that was, like, the only other big news. I mean, there's been some other stuff within the NBA. MLB is about to start. I'm really excited. 4 a.m. I'll be up on, it's either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. 4 a.m. Joey will be sitting in the exact seat you're sitting, watching Fox, watching the Dodgers opening day. Not domestically, not the domestic opening day, but the one that matters, the Dodgers. So, yeah, a lot to talk about next week. Way too much to talk about next week, actually. March Madness starting. Conference tournaments actually end today. Selection Sunday's tomorrow. Our vacation's over.
Yep.
Okay, it's time to lock back in, get the people what they need to hear about sports,
Yep.
and what we would do if LeBron came in our face. So,
Hard-hitting questions.
yeah. So, yeah, we'll be back. We'll talk about March Madness next week. Jackson's going to go golf at 72 right now. Scratch. And then, yeah, so we'll talk to you guys next week. I think we're going to record in, won't dox the location, but up there.
I don't even know where it is anymore.
Yeah, God knows.
Changed locations like 3 times.
Chicago.
Yeah, we're gonna be recording in Toronto next week. Actually, Caden can't go there. A shame. Sorry.
It's all good.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, go tell somebody you love them. You may just make their day. Peace.
Peace.